Sid in the morning.
Bernard McGurk and Sid Rosenberg.
Sleep with one eye open.
Life, sports, politics,
Stay woke.
mischief.
Oi!
Live, local, on it. 77 WABC.
Under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. That is unconstitutional. The special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by that department policy. Charging the president with a crime was therefore not an option we could consider.
Robert Mueller, speaking for the first time and only time. Guy literally resigned after that. And, well, everybody had their own opinion on what it meant. Bernie and I have gone over ours. But I did put a tweet out there moments after Mueller spoke, and this was before any of the real pundits started talking about it on television and or tweeting it. And our buddy Bob Bianchi, I saw Bob on television with Shepard Smith about 6 weeks ago, and I loved him. So one day Bernie was out, and Bob came on with me solo, and he was really, really, really good. And ever since then, we become friends and tweet each other back and forth. And whatever I said on Twitter yesterday, he seemed to agree. And now he's back, first time with Bernard, but second time on the Bernie and Sid show. And it is trial attorney and TV guy, Bob Bianchi. Bob, welcome back, pal. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sid. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. You were great
welcome.
last time. Yeah. So listen, let's get right to it. I did tweet yesterday that what I saw was Mueller going on and on that Donald Trump is not innocent, despite Donald talking about the exoneration, the victory lap. He's not innocent, but legally he can't charge him with a crime. So Congress, go get him. That's what I saw yesterday.
Sid, you know what I saw yesterday? I saw what is it that people can't get by reading either the report, which I know is 400 pages long, it's really long, or the executive summaries in the reports, which on each volume are only a couple of pages long. Mueller said nothing yesterday, nothing that's any different than the very words inside the report itself. And that's why he said, I'm not testifying, I don't want to testify. It's in great detail right here. And that is true, Sid. We've known that before he wrote the report. There's an OLC and DOJ rule. You cannot indict a sitting president, period, end of story. But if you look at Mueller's report, what he says is it would be unfair to even characterize his activities as criminal because he doesn't have a forum, i.e. a courtroom, for which he could defend himself. However, we can gather the evidence now while the witnesses' memories are fresh and why documents exist. And when that immunity, that is, you can't charge him as a president, is gone, that is, when he's no longer president, you have all that evidence available to you if you wish to then prosecute him criminally. But for right now, folks, guess what? I know it's a shocker, Sid. I know it's amazing. But you know what? There is a remedy here for a president who may have committed wrongdoing. It's called impeachment. So Congress, if you wish to take all this data and information we gave you while we can't prosecute him, go at it if you wish with regard to removing any president, Trump or anyone else for that matter, who may have acted corruptly.
So, Robert Bianchi, you're saying that if Mueller and his team of investigators had found sufficient evidence that there was a crime, you're saying they wouldn't have recommended indictment to Attorney General Barr?
Absolutely, he can't. And Mueller's a rule follower, and no other attorney general would have done it anyway. They would, and he's even saying, I won't even put that in this report. Because if I were to put in this report that there's enough evidence here for me to charge, but I can't because he's the president, it would leave a cloud over the presidency, which he would not be able to perform his executive duties. That's one of the reasons why you can't indict a sitting president. But then what does he do, guys? That's really interesting. He then, on the obstruction charge, lays out 12 instances of things that are not too flattering. These are the 12 instances that close to 1,000 former federal prosecutors said that had this been anybody else, on much less they would have been indicted for obstruction. And he kind of lays it out in a way that says, we are extremely concerned about this activity, and if we were allowed to make a traditional prosecutorial judgment, that is, if it wasn't the president, if it was somebody else, we would look at all these facts singularly or together and make a determination in that instance whether or not we would charge an individual with obstruction. And again, those close to 1,000 former Department of Justice federal attorneys said clearly this conduct from any other individual would have meant an indictment.
Trial attorney and Fox News contributor Bob Bianchi here with Bernie and Sid. But look, like when Ken Starr went after Bill Clinton, he laid out 11 things that Bill Clinton did that were illegal. And what I'm hearing about Donald Trump, Bob, is not very flattering, makes the president look bad. Neither one of those things are illegal. So it would make me feel a lot better about what Mueller tried to do yesterday if, in fact, you would have said to me, hey, 2 of those 12 things, they're illegal, but not flattering. What does that mean?
Yeah, so, it's funny. In the first part where it comes down to what people have been calling collusion, which is really conspiracy, he's very firm that there's not enough evidence there. But in the second part, in obstruction, he doesn't do it. And in fact, uses that language that if I could exonerate him, I would, but I can't. I mean, come on. You have to be blind not to see what he's saying when you take those things together.
But, Bob, it's not his job. It's not his job to exonerate. You know that, right?
No, I know. No, absolutely. But what I think he's telegraphing is that this conduct, look, I could care less. Republican, Democrat, doesn't make a difference. What I do when I talk to people about this case is people have very strong opinions, and typically it's based upon their political persuasion. When you ask them, well, how do you account for this in the report or that in the report, they can't tell you because they haven't read the report. So Mueller was in a little bit of a unique situation. I'll give him a little bit of a break here because it's not often that U.S. attorneys or FBI agents are investigating conduct for which they cannot bring charges. Do you see the weirdness of where he is with that?
Yeah.
So he's got to basically say, here are the facts. He exonerates him, if you will, on the conspiracy, even though there's some very unflattering conduct with regard to contacts with Russians. But then he comes right out and says, here are 12 instances of problematic behavior, and I will not say that he can be exonerated. Here, Congress, you do what you want. Come on, guys, this is telegraphing. I find this information extremely problematic. And let's not forget that part that I said before. When the immunity is gone, then all the evidence we have preserved for you for what some other law enforcement agency down the road may decide to do. It doesn't read well for the president that way.
Well, listen, I don't disagree with you. I don't. But then again, when you talk to a Trump supporter, they make it really very simple. And they say, Mueller hates Trump. It's really that simple. When Strzok was out there lying, we've got text from Strzok that said basically we're going to get this guy out. Same thing from his love interest page. And Mueller is basically one of them. So that's how the Trump supporter explains this away, is that this is personal when in the end it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, well, listen, Strzok and Page, if they were my employees when I was the head guy in a prosecutorial agency, would have been gone in a nanosecond. I could care less whether or not their personal opinions affected an investigation or not. They compromised the integrity of the agency and created a public perception of a witch hunt. But what I find interesting in the Mueller report is that they indicate here that you can attack Mueller all you want. Yes, no. He seems like a squared-away guy. He's got respect on both sides of the political aisle. He seems to be extremely measured, which is why I think that press conference was good yesterday. But the 12 instances of conduct that he lists here, he has documents on this. When he talks about, he's got testimony from McGahn. When McGahn was asked to put a fake notice in a file to say that the president hadn't done something in terms of trying to get rid of the special counsel. He's got K.T. McFarland, who he wanted to draft a letter that she refused to do to try to cover up stuff. He's got the June 9th, 16th Trump Tower meeting where he is there was a line in there that it was there to get dirt on Hillary Clinton.
Lewandowski, too, he's got. Corey Lewandowski, too.
Corey Lewandowski, he's got. And Corey Lewandowski refuses to do anything to fire the special counsel. In fact, McGahn is giving information. These are his people. His people. This is on the record. His people are saying he refused to do it because he didn't want to be implicated in a crime, got himself a criminal defense lawyer, and was afraid that it would be another quote-unquote Saturday night massacre, referring back to the Nixon administration. And on this stuff goes. The stuff that he did with regard to alleged here that they say that they have documented. I don't know if it's true if they had documented or not. I would find it hard to believe that they didn't. But there's so much conduct here that they're basically saying, guys, we have all this documented. It's right here. Congress, if you wish to do something with it, do it. So, yeah, I get it. Strzok and Page did a horrible thing in terms of putting a stake in the credibility of the institution, but we need to, no place is perfect. If Mueller is saying that this stuff they have it locked and loaded, then it's either true or it's not true. And that's why I think it's important somewhere down the line that the underlying documents that are referred to in this report be revealed to determine whether or not this was just a hatchet act against the president or not. Now, let's say one last thing to Trump's defense, because, we love to do this. If I were his lawyer, I would say that a lot of his conduct can be explained not because he was trying to do something for a corrupt purpose. He had the ability as the president to fire Comey, which is another instance that's listed in that obstruction piece. He had a lot of ability to do these things. And the reason he was doing those things was because he knew the investigation was bogus. He felt that it was a cloud over his presidency. And what would somebody do under those circumstances when they feel that the government is being negatively affected by a bogus investigation? And that is kind of put in that report as well. So there's the defense to Donald Trump. I call it as I see it as a former prosecutor, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican. But in this report, he basically lays out some unflattering information and gives it to Congress to make the decision as to what to do.
Well, Bob, listen, I have to say, with all due respect, I completely disagree with you. I think that Mueller and his team of Trump haters, if they had sufficient evidence, they would have recommended prosecution. I believe firmly they would have. And this president, he invoked no executive privilege. He told McGahn, go testify. McGahn testified for 29, 30 hours. Mm-hmm. He was an open book. And the one question I would ask you is, why did not Robert Mueller investigate the Russian dossier? This is all about Russian meddling. Why didn't he investigate this dirty dossier that came from Russia in the end?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that I'll respectfully disagree back, and it's all out of love, but he cannot, under the DOJ guidelines, charge a president or indicate that he committed a crime. That's my read of the guidelines, and that's why he did that. Why he didn't investigate the dossier, he's going to say it wasn't within his purview to do that. I'm not sure that he maybe didn't do that, and somehow there's some information, and somebody either said to him, no, that's not your charge. You can give us that data. You can let us. Remember, there's a lot of things here where he got information that didn't make its way into this report, but did make it to other jurisdictions and other U.S. attorneys' offices that he farmed out. So I'm not 100% confident that he hadn't done anything on that right now.
Hey, Bob, you really are a tremendous guest, and we loved having you on again today. Folks, check out his website, BianchiLawGroup.com. That's Bob Bianchi, of course, Law Crime Network, Fox Sports contributor, big-time trial attorney. You're wonderful, pal. Thank you so much. Great job today.
Thanks a lot, bro.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
You too. Bob Bianchi here on Bernie and Sid. We'll take a short break. Still to come, he's running for Queens District DA, Greg Lassick. We're also going to talk to Bill O'Reilly. We've got Jilp on the street. Lots more to come. Bernie and Sid back on a Thursday.
What do I have to do with Russia?
Bernie and Sid in the morning, 77 WABC.